Hello and good morning, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay there. We were having some presentation challenges. My name is Chris Satterley. I'm Vice President of Sales Operations here at IntegraONE, and I want to thank you all for joining us this morning. And a special thanks to our sponsor today, HPE Enterprise. I just want to take a quick moment to introduce who IntegraONE is. 28 years in business, 84 employees strong, building our business through providing valued services to our clients. We've got several areas of focus, including data center, server storage, network, unified communications, security, IoT. We wrap that around with professional service and managed services as well. Covering the great state of Pennsylvania and our surrounding neighbors across 5 different offices, Allentown, our headquarters, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and most recently, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I'd like to now introduce our presenter this morning, Craig Haupt. Craig is the Consumption as a Service Category Manager for HPE Enterprise, and he'll be speaking to you this morning about a fundamental shift in how IT is being consumed, regardless of where it resides, and how to get subscription-based cloud-like economics with your on-prem infrastructure. He'll also be talking about how you can better align your IT spend with revenue, allowing you to pay as you grow. And lastly, he'll be covering how you can have infrastructure at the ready within your data center or colo when you need it, avoiding lengthy procurement and deployment cycles. So without further delay, I'll turn it over to you, Craig.
Well, thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to your customer base and folks that you do business with. I am the North American GreenLake Category Manager, and happy to be here. I represent the GreenLake portfolio. For the folks out there who have not heard that term, it's been around for about 9 months. It's HP's brand for consumption computing. So you'll see GreenLake used as our umbrella branding of all of our consumption services going forward as we introduce new products to the portfolio. PointNext is our services arm, so I work within the PointNext organization, so you'll see that on a few occasions. My goal today will be to inform and to educate the audience, the customer base here, on the attributes of GreenLake flexible capacity. Not to make you experts, but to give you a working understanding of the model, where it fits, and how it could be applied to your particular business organizational needs. We'll talk about the trends. We'll look a little bit on why GreenLake Flex Capacity is a strong offer in the market and should be considered for your potential needs, how the model works, some cost financials to give you a feel on how these are cost justified, and then maybe talk about a few verticals from that standpoint. So let's get moving. Talk about trends. Please submit questions. We encourage those. Chris likes to see those. I like to see those. So in the chat box, please give some questions as you go forward. What we're seeing in the market as a player of infrastructure is 3 particular forces driving a lot of change in organizations, whether it be government, business, whether it be healthcare, banking, it doesn't really matter. We see these 3 fundamental forces driving change: the Cloud First initiative, the hybrid IT initiative, and the digital transformation. One of the things that I talk about is that consumption computing, in this case GreenLake, can be used for all of these in different ways. So wherever your journey is, consider consumption as an option if it makes good business sense for your organization. Some of the attributes of the market as we see it, and others such as IDC and Forrester and other research organizations, there's a preponderance of organizations going to host in a private cloud, and a preponderance of organizations going to public cloud. And then most people are asking for help setting it up, help managing it, help monitoring it. And they're doing this, as you can see off to the left, for a number of reasons: the agility, the portability, scalability, and the other factors. So there's a driving force we see to do both public and private. We have a private offer, but that it coexists with the public, and many of our customers actually are doing both. So the hybrid model comes into play. Just a little data on the growth of both markets. Both markets are growing. Public's growing at about 18% per annum. The private cloud world is growing at about 13. So both are growth markets for us as a service provider, and IntegraONE as a key partner, and you as customers. These are both markets that are going to continue to grow, and we believe we have a good offer to complement both, specifically the private. So let's take a little look at what's going on in the world. We see the traditional world of, we call, heavy upfront investment, plant, equipment, property. The line here represents how we historically have bought assets. It's front-end loaded. The investment is made. Revenue tends to trail all organizations. Revenue is usually back-end loaded for any new initiative. So there's a disparity between where we have historically bought assets and when the revenue comes in to support those assets. So, we've over provisioned for years, and that we call that the traditional model. It tends to be rather rigid. I've been in this business almost 40 years. This is how we've always done it. We've always bought a lot of assets up front and then figured out how to use them over time. But those basically are underutilized assets. Very poor net present value, that type of cash flow model. The newer models that we see in the market are adapting to change. Cash is king. And what we're seeing is a concept to project tends to be a lot faster. Organizations are saying, why do I want to invest in assets? I'm just going to consume. This is the newer model where the investment and the revenue are closer aligned, and we're not spending lots of money up front for revenue that hasn't hit the organization's balance sheet or operating statement yet. We call this the minimum viable product. In other words, let's start smaller and right size it. Let's have the cash flow alignment make sense. Let's have the agility to be able to pivot as business conditions change. Maybe we will have a lot of assets in year two, but let's not over provision up front. These type of models we find are very attractive to the flexible organizations that are popping up, and to traditional organizations. But the new breed of organization, because they don't know how big they're going to get, really like a model that can scale with them versus assets all up front. Let's take a little look at the GreenLake model. This is a little history. We've been in this business doing consumption on-premise cloud-like computing for 8 years. Over $2 billion under contract. Very high net promoter score, if you're familiar with that matrix. And most of our customers find that we're 20 to 40% cheaper than a public cloud offer when you look at the costs of the model of a public cloud versus a private cloud, all costs included. So it's a solid foundation. If you're looking to a consumption model, GreenLake, flexible capacity, we do have a lot of history. We do have a lot of experience, which really puts us in a position to stand out in the market. Our offer is a offer that actually straddles the two worlds that are predominant: the traditional world on-prem and the cloud, public cloud model off-prem. And what we do in the GreenLake model is to bring the best attributes of both forward. The control of the on-prem model. So the assets are controlled just like you would own them. They're in your data center or they're in your colo. But we also provide the key attributes of the off-prem model: the pay per use, the fast and the speed and the simplicity. You can see here we articulate a few of the key attributes of both models, and you can see what we do is we bring those into an on-prem model, this cloud-like experience. It's a consumption model. We're going to be metering the usage, but you, the customer, has full control over the environment. You have the compliance, the legal requirements, the SLAs that you want, because you have the assets on-prem, and you get to pick your assets. You don't have to pick white boxes. You can pick the appropriate technology for the use that you have. What we also find in this model of consumption, it's not so much driven by a technology choice, but it's driven by business outcomes. So what we see is organizations focusing on what can I get out of a consumption model. Maybe I don't want to over provision, hence dollar efficiency. Maybe my supply chain takes too long to get assets to the floor, so time to value in a consumption model. Maybe I just like a pay-as-you-go model. Maybe I want to be a service provider to an external customer, or maybe I want to be a service provider to an internal customer to have showbacks and chargebacks. Maybe my line of business costs need to be aligned with the benefits. Or maybe I'm like that Uber or Airbnb organization, and variable growth might be a key that I want to be able to handle. Our model accommodates OpEx and CapEx. Because it is a statement of work, we're able to tailor the terms to most organizations' preferences. So if they want to put it on the balance sheet or they want to put it on the income statement, we tend to be able to facilitate that for the controllership of an organization. Some organizations are cash flow sensitive, and they need cash flow optimization. Maybe they're a seasonal organization, or maybe they're not sure what their growth. They're profitable, but the cash tends to be tight. Some organizations want that visibility. Others want the cloud-like experience. Some just want that the capacity on demand to be able to burst to extra resources. And then some organizations like newer technology, because this model lends itself to a tech refresh in a much faster manner. The way the model works is something like this. You see a traditional line here where we, over time, the compute needed and invoice looks something like this. Dollars on the left, time on the right, but we buy assets on the right, on the white line, typically over provisioning for a while, and then we find at the end of the term where we don't have enough assets on the floor, and then we buy more. This is what we say is the predicament of the traditional model. We over provision, and then we run out of assets, and then we over provision again. With our model, GreenLake Flex Capacity, we focus on cost savings and capacity ahead of demand with a buffer. So we address that by the aqua green line, representative of where you would put the assets in a consumption model, thereby saving the organization money and at the same time avoiding a shortage of assets toward the end of term, because what we're doing, every stair step represents what we call a change order, which means we're bringing assets to the floor to add to the baseline commitment. The process of the model looks something like this. The traditional model says we put all the assets on the floor day one for all 3, 4, or 5 years. The GreenLake model says, no, let's right size it. Let's put in what we need. Let's put in a buffer represented by the orange. And over time, let's grow. Let's grow as the business grows, and maybe we'll expand the buffer, we'll expand the minimum commit in green, and over time we'll grow. Hence, the ability to save money and to have assets when and where the business needs them in a business structured environment. What we have is active metering in this type of model, meaning we're monitoring the environment. We do a lot of capacity management. We're talking to our clients weekly, if not daily, about what's going on the system. And we do change orders to make sure the procurement process is a speedy environment that can bring new assets to the floor if the buffer isn't sufficient to handle the long-term needs. Here's a picture of the metering environment. What we typically do is we put assets on the floor, storage, network servers. We meter them. An email goes out to our portal daily. We aggregate those reports. We create monthly bills. It's based on average daily usage, so you don't pay for the highs or the lows of the month, but it's smoothed out because your bill represents what is used over all 30, 31 days. So it's an average monthly usage, not the spikes you might see, I don't know, if you day 1 or day 31. So it helps clients look at their overall usage. And the client who puts in a GreenLake model also has 24/7 access to the metering, can actually see what their bill is going to look like at the end of the month, can see what the usage is. So it's a very transparent model. Customers really like this aspect of the model. This is what I call the menu. So our clients, because we've been in this business for 8 years, just about all of our technologies and software can be put under a GreenLake model, unlike a lot of our competitors who are, quite frankly, a little bit late to the market putting in these on-prem consumption models. You can pick your technology, you can pick some software, HP and other. We bundle the support and the taxes into the environment. We have multiple years of terms that customers can choose. 3, 4, and 5 tend to be the norm, 4 being sort of the sweet spot. And we do some non-HP products, so we can put some mix and match with some non-HP products into the consumption model. So IntegraONE could build a model with some HP and a few other non-HP products if you so choose to do that. One of the benefits that our clients have had since we've been in this business, the on-prem consumption business for 8 years, is this what we call Evergreen environment, keeping the environment fresh. The traditional model is if in 2018 you buy assets, you sort of have to, what we refer to as bleed the assets out for all 4 years. With a GreenLake model, we talk about right-sizing it and not putting all the assets on the floor right away. So maybe in 2019, instead of a Gen 10 server, you want to start putting in some Gen 11 servers represented in orange here. We can do that. And then maybe in 2020, you want to put in some Gen 12 servers. You could do that. So we call this the Evergreen environment because you're not over provisioning with assets. As technology changes, you can add new technologies to the model and move forward. So it's an evergreen type of concept. Okay, let's look at some of the financials. It is not a lease. It is a service. It is a statement of work. We bundle the environment together, all the support, installation, taxes. We have easy adjustments. We call these change orders because the master contract is in place. All the pricing is pre-negotiated for the 3, 4, or 5 years up front. So as you add incremental investments, it's just strictly an email or a phone call saying, hey, bring another 20 servers in. I know what the price is going to be because we've already pre-negotiated this. So it's a service agreement, not a lease. Totally different than a traditional lease. It's based upon what Warren Buffett calls the value proposition. This guy has probably made more money than all of us combined. And his whole concept is it's not the unit price, but it's the value. So what happens in the model with GreenLake is that we focus on helping our clients achieve the value below the waterline. You know, what are the financial benefits of not over provisioning? You know, what are the financial benefits to having the buffer so you can turn on 20 servers when the line of business asks? What is the time to value when supply chain doesn't have to go out and do a 6-month procurement because we have assets waiting on the floor, or a quick change order might bring other things? So it's all focused on the Warren Buffett value proposition model. So what we've seen in the market is, yes, there are a lot of customers running to the public cloud, but there's a lot of customers that have decided that it's not for them. Here's an example of verticals of customers who've decided to come back off the public cloud. In this case, these were AWS, Amazon type of customers. And you can see off to the right some of the reasons why they've come back out of the public cloud to more of an on-prem private cloud type of environment. Performance is a key. cost is a key, security is a key. Those tend to be the three reasons that our clients repatriate data, repatriate server and VMs back into an on-prem model. So not everybody that runs to the public cloud chooses to stay there. And it's not really their fault, but it's a new environment, and a lot of people just don't understand the total cost envelope until they get there and experience it. Once again, our model is based on doing something different than the traditional model. Traditional model looks like this. You put in the assets, you got a lot of wasted capacity. What we say is, hey, let's right size it up front. Let's put in the minimum we need for 6-9 months with some variable we can burst to, and we'll save money by doing that. What that does is it drives a different type of financial model for your controller or your financial VP. This is the traditional model. Very poor net present value, time value of money, because we're sinking costs early in the technology rollout. Heavy upfront cost. Business benefits are always back-end loaded. With a GreenLake model, a consumption model, we do just the opposite. We are able to grow over time, thereby optimizing the cash flow, thereby creating a very positive net present value, and that's a good environment for the financial controllership of most organizations. This is what a typical large customer might see. You know, on the top is the capital expenditure. You know, they might spend $3 million over a 5-year window. The flexible capacity GreenLake model, we do it 2 ways. We have something we call a baseline, which is a minimum commit. In this example, it's only 2.2 million. We also model we call flex most likely, which says you probably use more than your minimum commit. You might use maybe the other 10-20%. In this model, it's $2.4 million. In essence, you know, we're showing here savings of either 1.1 million or 800,000. Mileage would vary, but we do these type of analysis for all our customers to see what their cost benefits would be comparing an acquisition model versus a consumption model. Let's take a look at a few verticals. Most verticals play. You can see here everything from healthcare to auto. We really haven't found a particular vertical that doesn't play. They all have different drivers, so it just depends. So in conclusion, you know, it's all about the economics for GreenLake, flex capacity. It's a pay-as-you-go model, and it scales very quickly for the needs of the business to move forward. So, Chris, do you have some questions? Hello? Chris? Hello?
Hi, Craig. I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
How frequently do customers do change orders?
Of course, it varies by customer. On average, we see 1 to 2 change orders per year is an average. Most of our customers have at least 1 change order in the first year of contract, and then sometimes it accelerates, but the average is a couple. We have some customers that have had do 30 to 40 change orders a year because their business is so dynamic, but the average is about 2.
Hey, Craig, sorry about that. I was stuck on mute. Another question for you here is, what are the end-of-term options with a GreenLake flex capacity offering?
Right. End of term there's a lot of choices. It's probably one of the best benefits of the model. We don't really lock you in. We give you a lot of choices. One is you could do a tech refresh. So, you know, just at the end of 3 years, you know, all 50 servers roll out, 50 new servers roll in, no balloon payments. Or you could extend the contract. So let's say you started with a 3-year contract and you said, hey, I'm not ready for new assets. I'd like to renegotiate and add another year. So we'll add another year to the contract. Typically, it's at a price point a little lower than it was before because we recoup some of our investment already. You could do nothing. If you chose to do nothing at the end of a 3-year term, it'll just keep rolling month to month. So it just keeps extending month to month if you do nothing. You could also do a buyout. You could ask us, many customers do. They say, you know, I want to buy these assets because I have someplace I want to put them. They may do a buyout and a tech refresh, but you could do a fair market buyout at the end. Or you could just say, this model is not for me and I want to go a different direction. So you just send all the equipment back, no balloon payments, and we go on our merry way and you go on your merry way. I think that's about 5 options.
Pretty good. One more for you. What about existing assets that may be on the floor that they may want to incorporate into to a flex capacity model?
Yeah, what we can do is, because we're underneath the covers of this is HP's financial organization, we can buy out assets. So if you have assets you want to roll into a consumption model that might be a year or 2 old, but you want to just wrap everything in a single umbrella, we can do a buyout and roll that into the unit cost also.
Great. I think that's the end of our questions.
Very good. Very good.
Well, folks, appreciate everybody joining us today. We'd encourage you to complete the post-presentation survey, and you'll be eligible to receive a Starbucks gift card in doing so. Thank you and have a great day.